Andrew has requested me on Patreon to review the 2000 movie The Beach, directed by Danny Boyle and starring Leonardo DiCaprio. This was a film that was primarily notable at the time for being the first major film DiCaprio signed on to star in following the enormous success of Titanic. It was not well received and his reputation has not grown that much since it was originally released. So what do I think of The Beach? While it has some interesting themes, I did not find the story to be particularly engaging. A major problem I had with the film actually had to do with the lead character, Richard. A young man who travels to Thailand and decides to go to this secret beach, he never becomes a likable or even that compelling a character. Nothing about him really stood out to me, aside from maybe the part where the events on the beach start to have a mental effect on him. But even that is taken some unusual places, like a scene where he pretends he's in a video game. Richard goes on this trip with two French tourists, and they're similarly lacking in interesting characterizations. He even hooks up with one of them, but they share absolutely no chemistry with each other. Despite all this, I do think Leonardo DiCaprio gives a solid performance, and is particularly good during the moments where Richard has his freakouts. Even though DiCaprio was one of the few aspects of the film that was consistently praised by most critics, he was nominated for a Razzie Award. Why? The answer is because the Razzies are incredibly petty. He was a very popular actor among the teenage girl demographic at the time, and so of course they immediately leapt at the opportunity to name him one of the worst actors of the year for a movie that did not get good reviews. I'm going to criticize a fair amount of things in The Beach, but DiCaprio is absolutely not one of them. A major issue I do have with the movie is I found it a slog to get through. That's surprising considering it was directed by Danny Boyle, and his films are almost always well-paced. There's an energy he often displays in his direction and in the way his movies are edited that keeps things interesting throughout the runtime. I'd yet see a movie made by him that I would call boring. Until this one. While it does have many of his trademark, recognizable flourishes, I found it moved at a somewhat glacial pace as we follow Richard through Thailand and eventually to the beach and the various predicaments he finds himself in. A lot of the characters who inhabit the beach are also not written in the most compelling manner. There is an effort to try and make the inhabitants distinguishable, and it does pull that off, with the biggest standout being one with a love for cricket. There's an almost cult-like vibe it's trying to show through the society they've created here and the power their leader Sal has on them. One interesting aspect is as much as they give off this notion of how much they love residing on the beach and secluded from the rest of the world, all of them still desire things they love from normal society. So there are these intriguing ideas under the surface, but I don't think the movie explores these as much as it could have as it meanders from scene to scene. This is a well-photographed film though, with Boyle and the cinematographer Darius Konji showing the contrast between the beach and the busy Thailand streets. There's even a moment when Richard returns to the city with Sal and you're hit with the sensation of how much noisier and more raucous it is. It's a brief scene that gives an idea of why Sal and the others prefer the isolation of their secret hideaway, although I think she also likes the power she holds as the leader of this group. As the beach becomes more unpleasant, the lighting and color grading also changes to reflect this. I've not read the book by Alex Garland, but the film apparently changed quite a lot. Although I guess Garland did not mind the alterations too much, as he would collaborate with Boyle again on 28 Days Later, and the movie's producer, Andrew McDonald, even became Garland's regular producer. Apparently the book is a lot more satirical, as it pokes fun at the stereotypical backpacking tourist who thinks other cultures are their personal playground, and ironically said tourists would end up being the book's biggest admirers. The movie would also become infamous for inspiring a bunch of tourists to go to the beach where they filmed the movie, even though the message of the movie is that they should not go there. The environmental damage from the influx of tourists got so bad, Thailand closed the beach in 2018. It reopened 4 years later, but with heavy restrictions on what you can do and how many people can go. In looking up further information about the movie, I found an article written while it was in production that is somewhat amusing in hindsight. Andrew McDonald is quoting the article as saying he hopes the film encourages people to visit Thailand, while Garland expresses the opposite sentiment and hopes that won't happen. So The Beach is one of those classic cases of people watching a movie and completely missing the point. And it's not like the film is particularly subtle about this, but I guess the scenes before things really take a turn were too enticing to viewers. Overall, I found The Beach could have done a stronger job of fleshing out the characters. The ideas are there and a few themes are compelling, but I did struggle with the pacing and developing an interest in following these characters. I was thinking about it, and a lot of Danny Boyle's films are about young, adventurous characters who take a thrill out of doing risky things. Whether it's the drug-addicted Scottish 20-somethings in Trainspotting, the boys who find a large sum of money in Millions, and even Steve Jobs. The Beach also depicts that, but it mostly fell short for me in tackling that theme. If you've seen The Beach, let me know what you think of it in the comments, and thank you for the request, Andrew.